one of the principles we use is do the simplest thing that will work. So it may look a little bit weird to you to see something as we go through this and we do each test case. It's going to look a little bit maybe different to what you've done in the past, and so bear with us. It's a way of taking things in small steps. Tom knows very well about that as well, being a small batch man. Hey, Tom.
So we are live. Everything we're doing now is live stream. We appreciate everyone being here tonight. So, real brief, we're a nonprofit. Nick's opinions represent Nick. We haven't certified or sanctified Nick, but we're confident he'll do a great job tonight. If you'd like to participate, like Nick, how do you want questions? What's the best way to interact with you tonight? Do we sit quiet like it's third grade, or do we act like it's kindergarten and eat the finger paint?
I would entertain questions as we go through, and I might ask you for, what do people think we should do next? So feel free to answer that questions as I go through it. I'm okay with being interrupted going through. You can do that, or you could put something in the chat, the Zoom chat. Joel, you'll be fielding those questions, and feel free to sort of jump in and at an opportune moment to help field that question.
Yeah. So we're ready to code?
I think we're ready.
You're acting like an architect. You got a PowerPoint slide up there.
Yeah. Do you want to do the disclaimers again?
Well, everyone's clicking into it anyways. Tom, I think you clicked into it, correct? It said you were recording when you joined?
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah, it does.
We're good to go. So welcome. Let's code, Nick. Let's code.
Let's code. All right. So everyone's familiar with Roman numerals. Let's make that assumption first. If you don't, we'll learn as we go what Roman numerals are. So the problem at hand is, how do we convert our number system, decimal number system, into Roman numerals? What are some examples? Let's think of these things as examples. What are some examples of some decimal numbers that we want to convert into the equivalent Roman numerals? Let's get some of those written down first.
Do you mean like a 1 is an I, a 2 is 2 I's?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So what we're thinking through here is, like, we're sort of thinking a little bit ahead about what's the scope and breadth of this problem, right? And we put our tester's cap on. We're kind of thinking a little bit ahead about what are the examples which form the test cases, and we can select from those as to, as we progress through those tests and those examples, we get an idea of how we're progressing, how much, when to know when to stop, what's the breadth of our testing as well. So let's start writing some down if everyone's okay with that. So what's the first obvious test? So the number 1 converts to what?
To an I, yeah.
An I, okay.
Number 2 to 2 I's, 3 to 3 I's. Then I want to skip to a 5 and make it a V before I say the other one.
All right.
Tom, did you learn this in elementary school?
I did, yes.
Nick, you probably went from the right to the left, right? Adding a little humor to this conversation.
The right to... All right. I mean, this could be our starting point. But do we feel there's some more, like, there's some curly test cases well, curly examples, right? Like a 4 is an interesting example in Roman numerals. So is 9.
Yeah, that's strange, right?
So what about 4 and 9? And 8.
What was that?
What about 4, 9, and 8?
4, 9. Is that an example?
Yeah. So 3 test cases, 4, 9, and 8. Those are interesting to me.
They're interesting to you. All right. So 4 would be that, right?
Uh-huh.
And what is our 9? Can
IX.
someone remind me? IX. What's 8?
VII.
Okay.
Not Vim.
What about 10s and 50s and 100s?
Let's see. 10 is an X. 50 is what, an L? No, isn't 100 an L?
I think, yeah, 50's an L.
50's an L.
And 100
Is a C?
is a C.
Nope. Is it a C?
Yes.
That's why I call it a C note. Is that it?
I thought the kids call it a stack these days.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit of scope defining thing right here. I'm gonna limit this to the numbers between 1 and 100 as our first
Oh, thank you.
stab at this. How's that? Does everyone agree?
Yeah.
So we're going to
Does
end
everyone agree
before
with
10
that?
o'clock.
Right. All right, we may not get through all of these though, but let's see how we go. So here's our test cases. We want to which one do we want to start with? I reckon we start with the simplest one. I think it's the number 1. Is there something before that? No, probably not. All right, let's go. So we're going to use C# here. And so I've got Visual Studio loaded up. Let's move that out of the way. Okay. And we're going to start a project in Visual Studio. And we're going to start an X unit. We're going to use a framework called X unit. I don't know, do we need to say anything about what X unit is?
Was everyone
Anyone curious?
Do a brief. I mean, let's assume everyone here is new to programming.
I
mean, Tom is really rusty, almost seized. So you might need to remind Tom what X unit is.
Well, it's a unit testing framework. Maybe I'll just demonstrate it by doing it.
The greatest thing in the world.
All right. So let's start an X unit project up in C#, and we'll call this numbers 2 Roman roles tests. Okay. Okay, and we'll create that. So this is X unit. Once Visual Studio gets its act into gear, we'll be able to actually run this. So here's an attribute well, here's a class. So we understand what a class is. This is a C# class. Here's a method in there, and it's been instrumented with this attribute fact, which means it's a test. We can run it by right-clicking, run it through the class. So we can right-click here, we can click Run Tests. Get this window coming up. And it gets comes up green, right? Just put that out of the way down here for now.
Well, if it's running green, we're done, aren't we?
Not quite. Not quite.
What does green mean? I'm gonna ask some questions I didn't know when I first started doing this. What does green mean? When you guys said green, what does that mean?
All right.
I assume it means all the tests passed.
It doesn't have to be a complex answer.
Yeah, it just means the test pass. But would this be a good quality test? Just looking at the code that's in here.
Well, it doesn't do anything. So.
It doesn't do anything, does it? All right. So maybe we could do something here to make it do something else. We could assert something. So assert means we can test for truth. I'm going to test truth. So let's go assert true, and let's make it fail by passing in false. All right, now we've got a red test, which means we've got a failing test. That's our first, usually our first step in TDD, get a failing test.
Why?
So I think we'll move on though, and we'll try and do something to convert the number 1 to the Roman numeral I.
Cool.
Who would like to help Mob with this, or shall I just?
Why wouldn't I just assert that to begin with?
We could.
Whether or not it works.
Mm-hmm. So what do you propose, Tom?
That I equals 1.
Okay, so we have a result from some sort of conversion, right? So true takes this assert statement takes a condition. So we could do something like true. Let's do something different. Let's do something like equal. So what are we expecting? We're expecting I.
Uh-huh.
And the actual is, let's just call it result. Okay.
So if 1 plus I equals 2, then that would show that I can do addition and that I would get the result that I expect, I think. Yeah.
So
I mean, you got to tell me if I'm on the right track or not.
Yeah, so we're looking to take a number and convert it to a Roman numeral. So the first thing we'll do is write the assert statement, which will say, hey, here's our string that we're expecting, and something's going to store the result of that conversion. So let's just call that result for now.
Okay.
All right. That doesn't compile, so let's use the IDE to help us out here, and let's just generate a local variable here called result, and we'll just use var here. Okay. So, I mean, we could do that. That's really not enough. What we really want to do, though, is, I mean, that will obviously pass. So let's step ahead a little bit quicker. Let's just do something like convert. Let's write a function called convert number to Roman numeral. Okay, and it's going to take the number 1 and we'll generate a method here. Use the IDE, and it'll actually need to return a string because Roman numerals are strings.
Yeah.
And we'll just call that number. Now I'm not going to compile, I'm not going to run this because obviously it's going to throw an exception. Let's just write something in here that will make this assert statement work. So what's the simplest thing that's going to make that work? Just this. All right. Run that. and we get a passing test.
So did you just write your first automated test?
That's what it looks like.
Looks like, yeah.
So walk us through it. We got we create a variable called result, which is a conversion to a Roman numeral. We've asserted that it equals a 1. And we pass, and then we get a result.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a private string convert to Roman numeral, an integer return I. So it's just returning the result of the conversion. Am I reading that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay.
Yep. I would say this is probably not this is not a complete implementation because we got a few more tests to write here. Okay. What about this name? Is this name of this test good? Should we rename this? Let's call this convert number 1 to
Yeah.
Roman numeral I. All right. That might be a better name for the test. Roman numeral I. We generally run our test every time we make a change. Okay. I don't think this is not enough, is it? We need more test examples. Let's write our next test. Obviously, we can't ship this, can we? Can we ship this? I mean, if all the numbers were just the number 1, it's going to work.
Oh wait, do we have a pager? Are we on ops? Because if I don't have a pager and have ops, I'll ship it. What about you, Tom? And go home. It'll take them 3 days to find out all the defects.
All right. The answer is it's not fit for purpose. We have to write more tests. So I'm gonna let's go and write another test. So let's be a little bit sneaky and copy this one here. I know this may be sacrilegious to some people, but
why? See, people just feel like they have to type.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dogma in software development that doesn't need to exist. Copy and paste is amazing. Normally we do it from Stack Overflow and put it into the IDE.
If you know it's going to function the same way and you're just going to be changing things, wow,
right.
So why you wouldn't cut it, right?
Yeah. So I'm sticking with this naming convention as well. I might change it later, but I think it's sort of documenting things as we go. We want to convert number 2 to Roman numeral 22. And the assert is going to be a little bit different, isn't it? So what are we expecting this time? We're expecting 2 letter I's.
I, but then also our we're going to use the number 2, obviously, right?
So let's do that. And just for, shits and giggles, we'll run that.
Well, what about your return?
So I just wanted to just run it to say, hey, we just proved that we haven't implemented this yet. We don't have a passing test.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
So
itty bitty steps is what you're telling me.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So we need to change this code. This code will not work for the instance of the number 2 coming in. We're not even using it here in this code yet. So I don't know. What do we propose to do here? How do we make this?
Do I jump to creating it as a variable?
All right.
Or
what's the simplest thing that's going to work?
Yeah.
if number equals 2, return 2 i's.
That's the simplest thing that'll work. Yep.
Now, this is when you go on vacation and let Tom finish the rest of the work, right?
Are we happy with this code?
We're not doing any keyboard sharing here yet, man.
So what do you reckon? Should we run this test now?
Well, yeah. Yeah. As soon as you make a change, right? That's what you said.
Well, we're not paying you for the number of tests. You're right, Nick. We're paying for the number of tests that pass. And story points.
If you can convert that to story points for me, I'll be.
Are we going to start doing story points in Roman numerals?
The Can Coder economy operates on story points. We do split them, though. It makes some people upset.
All right. So I ran all the tests just then.
I can tell you right now, it's going to start getting bulky.
How's that, Tom?
Well, I mean, now you're going to go to 3, and then you're going to go to 4, and you're going to have like this. The entire pattern is just going to keep repeating itself. It's going to turn into. It's just going to get huge.
Right.
Nick, are you paid by the line of code you're in?
I'm not sure how to answer that one.
If you're paid by the line of code, you're headed down the right direction.
You're right, Tom. It's heading down like it's, as far as TDD is concerned, we've written just the right amount of code to get these 2 test cases working.
So we've heard that our pattern will work, right? That's what we've learned.
Right. It's really forcing us to only write the code that we need to make our current tests work. We don't want to think too far ahead about a particular algorithm.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because we might do a thing known in the business called gold plating, right? We want to think too far ahead. And
is I don't know that gold plating is the risk. I think the risk is that we don't by solving tiny bits of the algorithm, we get a better understanding of how it would fit in an overall design. And if we jump to it too early, we might go down a dead end that ends up having to get torn out. That makes
I think that's the TDD hypothesis, right? Small, tiny steps and emerge the patterns.
Yeah, I'm just expressing my impatience with it. That's all.
Which is actually, Nick, is that a normal feeling when you're doing this as an intro, when you're doing it to start?
Certainly, and there's certainly a feeling to sort of jump ahead very quickly into that big step, which can lead you down that path that Tom, you just described, and unraveling out of that can be time consuming. Brings up other bugs, so on and so forth. So this is obviously a contrived example, just stepping through it in a very micro step way. I guess as a seasoned TDD, I probably wouldn't go for Roman numerals kind of start this way, because you can rely on your experiences as well as a software developer to imbue and your knowledge into the implementation. But I think it's kind of like swings and roundabouts for you as well. I think the main thing though is it's still to do it in very small steps.
Yeah.
And to experience that doing in very small steps and really to get some satisfaction as well. Hey, this is working. Later on as we progress through this, we'll probably experience a mutation, like a bug. When we experience that, we'll be able to go back and say, "Oh, here is where I did my mistake." Roll back to that and fix it. So, do we have any questions from the audience up until now? Joe?
I always talk the most.
Tom?
Yeah.
No, I mean, audiences, if you feel comfortable asking a question, put it, come out, mute. That's great. Put it in Zoom. I know Tom will pick it up, and Tom's doing an excellent job of. I've known Tom for quite some time of asking the questions. I've seen with a lot of new software developers adopting this for the first time, and I think they're coming from honest curiosity.
I have not done this stuff in an awful long time, you guys.
Yeah. All right, so here's our test cases here. So what we've done is, just moving on a little bit, is we've done this one. So we can just put a star against that. And we've done this one. So we're making progress. All right, so I think people can get paid today. That's
yeah, take a story point on the way out the door, next to the donuts. They're individually wrapped tonight.
All right. Where do we want to go next? What from this list? I'm kind of thinking I'd still want to do 3 here as well. I mean, it might be just too much of a leap to go up to one of these other examples. It just feels like it's we're not quite ready to sort of get into these more complicated ones, but maybe we are. What do people think? What do you think?
Just knock them out. I mean, the way we're going, we can cut and paste them, and I mean, we've got this down pretty good. It doesn't hurt to just go ahead and knock them out. Don't you think?
All right. Okay, so this one should be fairly easy to do. Okay, so here's our new test. Let's go and run it. We should experience failure here.
Yeah.
And there it is. All right, so what did we get? Here's the result. We expected 3 eyes and we got 1 eye.
We expected I.
Yeah. All right. So again, to make this work, we could just do the simplest thing that would work. Here is what I propose the simplest thing would be.
I. Gold typing.
All right, so let's do that one. And that passed. And
cool.
We ran that one, but you know what? I'm not really satisfied with this implementation as it stands at the moment. Can someone see any improvement just in this code here? Is there anything that can be refactored in this code that I'm highlighting right now?
What does refactored mean, Nick?
Oh, yes, we need to define that. Yep. Yes. Refactoring is the act of changing code but keeping the behavior the same. So we're going to expect all these test cases to still pass, but we want to change our implementation. Refactoring means, hey, is there some it's changing to be more efficient, remove duplication, anything like code smells. So I feel like this could be refactored into something a little bit more concise. I think it's somewhat repetitive.
Do you have anything in mind? Oh, Mike says, I think he's typing in something. I can't see it.
Is there something we can do? Maybe I'm jumping. I feel like I may have jumped ahead a little bit.
I think you could use a loop.
A loop?
Yeah.
Would that be better?
I don't know if you can say code is better than worse than the other code. That's very judgmental. Yeah. But it might be
cleaner.
Yeah, easier to read.
Mm-hmm.
Or is we're a community group. We don't represent our employers. When you maybe had a couple beers and you're on support at 2 a.m., it might be easier to change.
Right.
Yeah. Having to change it in well, it's only 3 places right now, but still the idea is the same. You want to create a pattern that utilizes the system. to simplify it rather than just a gigantic.
But Nick, I know you're going somewhere, so where should we go? You can instruct us. You are instructing. Clearly, Tom and I aren't saying the things we need to say.
All right.
We're less than X proposal. Oh, we got Michael.
Let's leave loops for I greater than X. All right. I think we leave it.
Sounds good. You're the instructor.
All right. All right. So, let's go with our next test case.
It's a V.
V. All right.
High
Let's do
five.
that.
And then we start getting complicated.
Yeah. Number 5 to Roman numeral V. Okay. And so I just wrote another test, convert number 5 to Roman numeral V. It's popped in 5 here in the function and the result V. And what do we expect? We expect to see a failing test. Again, we expected V, but we got I.
Right.
All right. Okay. So
Interesting how it goes 2, 3, V, and then it falls through to I. I mean, it goes I, and then
I know you were in the Army, Tom, but maybe this code's in the Navy and just says I to everything.
Yeah. I.
all right. What about this bit of code? I think that will probably make it pass. Let's put that.
Looks like it. Yes, 5V. Yeah.
And it did pass. So we got 4 test cases working now. Okay. Let's put a mark there. All right, now we get a little bit more complicated. Yeah, should we jump? Let's see what that one does. What about this one's going to be a little bit curly for us. It's been a little while since I've done this as well. So let's see how we go. All right, so our next test case is going to be convert number 4 to Roman numeral IV. Okay.
The OCD guy in me is wanting to reorder those.
All right. Again, let's run this test. And we get failure. Okay. I get, we could keep doing if statements here. That's
good.
I don't think that's really suitable, is it?
Well, it's getting pretty long.
Yeah. All right. So,
is it a for loop or what would we do?
I honestly, I need help me with the algorithm here because I'm
we have to think.
Yeah.
So what case is it? 4?
Mm-hmm.
And the rule of Roman numerals is you can have 3 in a row, and if not, you go to the next highest and deduct by 1. Correct? Now, I wasn't trained in the Roman public school system. Is that the algorithm?
I mean, for this test, it's a string. So I mean, it's the same basic logic, so it doesn't really change. You just put it in quotes as a string.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that that actually captures the logic of what we're trying to do by converting. I mean, it's creating a manual converter, but it's not allowing any operations to be conducted on the new Roman numerals. So I mean, I'm literally asking, is that kind of where we're going to try and go at some point, or is it just always going to be a string conversion?
It's strictly conversion at the moment, Tom.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, you can just copy paste and put IV in quotes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not writing our own data type yet. I don't know. That might be a little more than basic testing.
All right. Well, that's going to pass. But
well, thanks for putting that one in order. We got to put the other one in order too. Just so OCD, man.
And thanks, Nick, for taking it at the pace where people can consume it. And I can't tell you how many times we've gone through this. I've gone through this, teaching people these things. It's normal that developers that have been doing this for 20 years struggle with this. So, Tom, thank you for asking the questions everyone's thinking.
Oh, yeah? All right, cool. I'm glad.
And thank you for everyone else for coming tonight.
Yeah. All right. So that's 4. Do we have a pattern? Let's do the refactoring step. Is this readable?
Sure.
It's readable, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, but it always falls through to a 1, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you did like 13, Nick? Would that help? Would that get you where you want to go? Or 8? The test case to 8. 8 is probably where you want to. The next test case you want to do.
All right. Why is that one different? What makes the 8 special, Joel?
Because it would be VIII.
Oh, because there's more than 3 of them. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I've taught this enough to know the secret cases. And I can Google. But this is a very, very good example of what a company that does pair programming interview. This would be a very common interview practice. Like I've done this with people I've interviewed. I've done this when I've interviewed at companies. This is real life. Obviously without the silly humor.
Well, I don't know. If you're in an interview, we probably want to have a little bit of silly humor. That would, if I'm going to work with somebody 8 hours, I hope they have a sense of humor.
Tom, I like the shoes you're wearing today. Are they new?
Let's take a look at some of these chat responses. So Michael's chiming in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody can see what you're reading, so everyone look in their own Zoom chat.
Oh, no one can see that?
Nope. Right. But Michael might be in a place where he can just talk out loud.
Yeah, no, he's not. So that's why he said it's not special.
Well, I am now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
No, and Joel, silliness aside, if you and I were pair interviewing here, I'd pull them one way and let you pull them the other way and see what they did up the middle.
Not for
because you're trying to do math and I'm trying to do simple characters, and they both work.
But for new programmers coming right out of college or a boot camp, we'd probably be very kind and gentle.
I actually had an epiphany on this 10 years ago. That is decades into my career. I actually think it's simpler to do with strings instead of, if it's to the left, it's subtraction. If to the right, it's addition. I think 4 maps to IV, 8 maps to IIX, and it's just a number to character string lookup. It's not inverse, perverse, add and subtract. It's actually a simpler algorithm, I think.
I think so. Hey, Mike, what are you doing next Tuesday? 8 o'clock. You want to show us
reverse
that
Polish
algorithm?
notation. Reverse Polish notation. Okay.
We'll talk offline because that'd be a fun one to do too.
Actually, so yeah, and as Woody Zool says,
I think we lost Michael Wolf.
Yeah, right there in the Woody Zool
Yeah.
quote.
That
Do-
Woody
do
Zool
this
said
one.
nothing and then buffered.
Woody Zool finds that when there's two different ways to do things, instead of debating about it, he does them both.
Ah.
So yeah, let's do this one first and then the other one second, instead of doing them both at once.
Cool. So we're gonna stay on this path, Nick. Are you good with that?
Sure.
You're flying the plane. I know you're coming in for a landing.
All right. I think I want to take us. Let's just give me a moment to get organised. Okay.
This is a great time to talk about our talent show coming up on August 17th, which is free for both sides of the table, where we're going to have future employers, potentially future employers, tell you in 3 minutes why you should come work for them, and then you can go meet them in a breakout room or find them on the internet. But what a great sponsored segue. Nick, are you ready?
All right. I've forgotten the algorithm, so I'll need your help. So help me out with a change here.
Are all the tests passing, Nick? I don't see all the tests passing.
All the tests are passing.
I see it literally.
I see red.
Except for the 8. Yes.
So make 8 pass, and then we can derive into that algorithm.
Okay. All right.
If number equals 8, return 8 in Roman numerals.
Okay.
VIII.
Number equals 8, return 8.
Yep.
Nice.
It's a French I also work in translation. What's 8 in French? What is 8 in French? So Nick, do we have a test case for 1 out there? Okay, we do. Good.
All right. Okay, let's move forward a little bit. I just have to refer to my notes. So just a moment. Oh wow. All right. Let's do one more test case, and then I think we'll have to wrap it up. Joel.
Oh, are we? We're at time. Wow, that's great. Hey, that's fine. And then Nick, maybe when you're done, could you just talk about maybe how, in some interview questions, or I'll ask you some interview questions, and you can answer them in context of the test. Is that okay?
Sure. Yep.
And then we'll carry this on if you're in the future. Join our Slack channel. We do this stuff all the time. And I can't appreciate you enough, Nick, coming tonight. Tom, Michael, thanks for showing up. Goo, late as normal, but I know you don't mind us giving you a shout out.
All right.
I don't think I was late.
I believe I have evidence when you asked me for the Zoom link at 8:15.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for everyone that presented.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, and what's that last test case you're doing?
All right, let's do sorry, I need to refer to my notes. So just a moment.
So the code you would want to write to make this test pass, is that what you're just trying to do? Make it simple?
Mm-hmm.
If number equals 9, then return IX.
Mm-hmm.
Did it run?
It ran and it failed. All
So-
right.
So on line 69,
Mm-hmm.
just build another branch statement.
Okay.
Branch is a fancy way to say in computer science if. So once you get that passed, can we take about 3 or 4 minutes just to, I want to lob you some interview questions so people that are learning of this, and they can experience what an interview like this would be for a new programmer coming out of some type of educational body. So Nick, we use a type of programming called testing called arrange, act, assert. Can you show me how your test follows arrange, act, assert?
Okay. Yes. So I'll take an example here. So arrange would be setting up just act and assert.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the example. Like these are both the act of arranging and acting. So the arrangement could conceivably be this. Okay, just declaring the string, the result string. We act on the code under test, and we assert the result.
Mm-hmm.
So that's arrange, act, and assert.
Great. So another pattern another team uses at our organization, Canton Coders, is called given, when, then. Does your test fit that pattern?
Given, then, when, it could, but it's not really suited for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So given, then, when is given.
Is that the same pattern almost?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So arrange would be given, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When?
That's right.
Yep.
Given. That's when. This is the given, when, then.
Yeah, given when you do this, yeah. That's the conversion. When you do the conversion, then your assertion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, that works.
Mm-hmm. And then the other interview question I've asked, and chime in if you're ever interviewed someone with some other easy intro stuff, is how do you name a test?
There are various schools of thought here. In this example, I just chose, well, let's just call it what it's doing. It's like we're converting a number 1 to the Roman numeral I, right? So it just tells you, hey, we're doing that. It's sort of, others might say, put a prefix test. Some people do that.
What?
Sorry, a suffix test. They could do that.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that was necessary here.
Yeah. Well, does it need to say test? But I mean,
I think
so. That should make it pretty apparent, right? That the class is.
Some of the frameworks you work in may require you to label a test actually with test in the name.
Okay. Well, what about having the naming convention reflect the outcome that you expect to have happen, so that when you read it, it almost reads like natural language?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great answers. And I have a couple more things. I want to throw it to Google though, because I know in his day job, and don't mention where you work because we don't really care, but I know you actually do interview and hire people in real time. You probably hired more people this year than I did in the last 5 years. What are some other questions you would ask around testing, Gugu? Is he on mute?
I just want to carry on from what Tom said. I think one part of it is the outcome, but also what's the input, right? Given the input, then I work primarily in Java, and when I look at my test results that are created, I want to see the name of the function, what was given as the input, and what was the expected result. All those three pieces.
Wow, in the name.
Could you do
Name.
that, Nick?
Yeah.
Could you write that out in as a function name so people can see an example of it? None of this is right. None of this is wrong. All of this is flavors.
All right.
Absolutely.
So describe that again, Google. Google.
Well, like the convert number to random numerals. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put, as part of the name, I'll put in what my arrange statement is, as far as I'm passing null and my result is expected to be X. And then I'll have another function which is similar, and this time I'm passing a positive number, and I will describe that the result has to be X. Sometimes with the assert, at least with Java, with JUnit, I don't need to do that sometimes, because in the assert, I can give the statement that says what I expected and what my expected result is. Whether it's pass or fail, I still get that in the message, in the reports that I read. Mm-hmm. The important thing, I guess, is for me, I'm not doing the day-to-day unit tests, but I am very critical and looking at the results. I want the results to tell me something and tell me what to act on right away. So as much as I can give in the function name or the assert, the result that comes out, pass or fail, is usually helpful.
So what you're saying is, when you get the report that the test doesn't pass, it says, given, when we give the number 3 in, we expect I, and if it's red, you already know, well, that test is broken, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and then so then if you were doing something a little more complex, would that be something along the lines of password reset is not working? Like, given a valid password, when we submit it, we should get a 200 response, and then the test would say that doesn't work anymore?
Yeah, I want to read the name of the function and understand what I'm getting from the test.
Any other
from
questions?
What was inputted and what was the expected result.
Wonderful. Gugu, and to close it out, are there any other questions? I know you're a hiring manager. What are your go-to testing questions for new developers?
I like the AAA for sure. The GWT, I think it's an advanced topic, but it's also a question. I think some folks will say GWT is more for behavioral testing, and AAA is just unit testing. Yeah, what's the difference, right? Yeah, depends. But I liked, when I ask those questions, I can tell the level of the developer based on their answer. If they even know the difference, or if they've even seen the two flavors. That's all I'm looking for. The specifics are arguable, but I want to understand that they've seen the two flavors.
Anything else, Gugu? I mean, I know there's some people here that I mentioned that they're looking for their first job, and then we just wanted to make this context specific for them, so maybe they can take a spoonful of this knowledge and apply it to their future.
Yeah, the other thing I think with unit tests, I like parameterized tests, and I'm talking from the JUnit perspective. Mm-hmm. I want to see different inputs applied to the same function multiple times. So the unit test should test the happy path, but also should test the edge cases and the above and below edge cases, whatever the case may be. It's not enough to just test the happy path.
Wonderful. Maybe next week on Tuesday, we'll have to figure out someone that can deliver that. We'll talk about, this is basic testing. We can do slightly less basic testing or something along the lines of that. Taking this muse that we've been working on, maybe Nick, if you would like to do it again, that's awesome. If not, we can find someone to do it and build upon this and help everyone get better at testing, and maybe they can apply it forward and use it in the future.
Yeah, this is great, by the way. Thanks, Nick, for
Maybe we can
presenting
get
this.
Google to teach it.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I posted a solution, so feel free to, it's in the chat.
Mhm.
It has multiple check-ins that show how this progressed. And so it's kind of didn't get to that demonstration tonight, but if you have a look in there, you'll be able to see that. And I'm happy to continue this as well on another session as well.
Yeah. And by the way, when I mentioned what I prefer, I was also looking for rebuttals from all of you. Just kind of get what your thoughts are. That's just how I do it, but I'm certainly flexible and interested in hearing what how other folks approach it.
Naming
And,
will always be an argument. Best
yeah.
had over an adult beverage.
Yeah, well, that and a bunch of examples, right? A bunch of examples is always helpful. This is why this is good for this. This is why this is good for that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, Nick, I cannot thank you enough tonight. How do we get a hold of you? So we know sometimes we get 4 hits on a video, sometimes we get 4,000 hits on a video. If people want to get a hold of you, type in your contact information in the middle of the screen.
I will just direct people to connect with me on my favorite social media platform,
MySpace?
which is LinkedIn. Thanks for the joke, but it's LinkedIn. So just look for Nick Stornich there on LinkedIn. I will get you a link into the show notes, so to speak, and you can connect with me there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nick. Don't forget, when you're watching on YouTube a year from now, to like and subscribe, and all those details are below. And next time you dial in, Nick and I will have less hair.
And since Joel can't thank you enough, I'll add